What's up, humans of the earth? I'm Brillscheme, and today we're going to be trying to beat New Super Mario Bros. Wii without pressing left. To keep things interesting, I made a bet with a few of my friends to see what world they thought I could make it to. 1-1 is pretty easy, and we got a free propeller suit out of it. In 1-2, I opted to keep the propeller suit, but ended up losing it near the end. 1-3 is where things start to get interesting. See, in order to get this Yoshi, you do actually have to move left in order to get on top of those question blocks. And this is the part of the video where I'm going to introduce you to the various ways we have in order to move left without actually moving left. If you ground pound on a downhill slope, then it'll actually send you left, and then you can keep jumping in order to preserve that left momentum pretty much as long as you can. And it took me a few tries, but after a little while, I had my Yoshi. And it turns out the secret exit that skips to World 5 is completely possible without pressing left. Using the cannon that takes us to World 5, we have successfully skipped over half of the game without pressing left. Or did we? We'll get back to that later. To literally no one's surprise, 1-cannon is possible. This means that Invalid, Char from Terrible Game Chat, PK Boy, Beta Runner, and Mars are incorrect. Thank you so much for your guesses, and back to the video. And in 5-1, I thought this section was going to be an issue, but it turns out you can actually just skip it by jumping out of the water. Unfortunately, I died shortly after, which led to me making two interesting discoveries. The first is that you can use vines for backwards momentum, and the second is that that skip from earlier is only possible while small. I also discovered that if we came across one of these sections again, it actually wouldn't be that hard. After beating 5-1, the vines on the world map said that we should probably go to 5-3, and the Piranha Plant also let us pass, which means that you won't hear the section where I rant about the Piranha Plant until later. 5-3 was the hardest level in the run up to this point, but nothing you can't beat. And that brings us to the first tower in this playthrough. Towers are problematic for a few reasons. One is that they go up instead of to the right like most other levels. And two is that they don't actually have any slopes that we can use to get the backwards momentum we need in order to get through most stages. Luckily, there is one more trick we can use called wall jumps. Wall jumps give us left momentum, but like every other method, if we run into a wall facing the other way, then it stops us in our tracks. And one of the reasons I was almost completely sure we couldn't beat this tower was because all the walls are covered in spikes. But even worse than that, the spike walls move. So even though it looks like you have all the space, the spike wall just moves back and kills Mario because you can't press left, there's nothing you can do about it. I was positive the run was going to end here, and we were going to have to figure out a way to get around this level. But I had one more trick up my sleeve, a propeller suit. I got my propeller suit, and on the way back, I remembered a very important thing, the Piranha Plant. The Piranha Plant arena has no slopes and no walls on the left or right. Meaning the only way we can go backwards, which is required to beat the level, is by using these lifts or doing a really precise wall jump off the left ledges of any of the platforms. Doing these wall jumps is required to get all of the whatever you call these, but when doing one of these wall jumps, you have to make sure the lifts are in the right places, the plants aren't standing up fully, or they're not too close to where you're wall jumping, and after that you need to make sure you don't hit the plants on your way back while moving from the backwards momentum of the wall jump, and on top of all that, you only have 100 seconds to make this happen. Calling this hard is an understatement. So, as you might expect, I lost my propeller and focused all of my energy to killing this stupid, dumb, fat, red and white and green walking dumb Piranha Plant. Okay, this is a lot more stupid than I actually thought. Oh! Okay, we have to... Is that even possible? Oh, we're making ground, Just get that one over there. Yes! Please! Please! Yes! Okay, this is looking good. This is looking really good. Okay, we're good. We got the propeller. Let's just try to keep to this side. This is like the center bit, where none of them do anything. That's the end. That's the end. Propeller, yeah. We made it past. Okay, and the thing's over there. Oh my gosh. We're actually doing it. We actually... Give me that checkpoint. Give me that checkpoint. Let's go. Go this way. Let me speed up. Uh-oh. We have to wall jump? Oh no, this is looking kind of impossible. This part, this... How are we gonna throw that? Oh, wait, I know. I usually gotta do it like that. Then throw it in the proper direction. Look at that. Oh, that. Oh, yes. Oh, they overlap now? Oh, that's so impossible. It's so close to being possible. That's the thing about it. I'm gonna get another propeller. Bro, he's back! The loser is back! Oh no! The most annoying piece of foliage I had ever met was back in full force. And if you're one of the people thinking, Brisk, why don't you just like go to a Toad house and then get a propeller so you don't have to walk past him every time? I tried that. It didn't go too well. But then I came up with a really big brain idea of getting an ice flower from 1-2 and then freezing the piranha plant and wall jumping off of his frozen, dilapidated, dead sorta body in order to get the rest of the things I still don't know the name of. The strategy worked, and I tried the tower a few more times, and then I decided that we can probably get around this. In order to progress through the game, we could try to beat this tower, or we could shoot for the World 3 cannon, which would take us to World 6, skipping the tower and the rest of the world forever. The only challenges that would await us are the second half of World 1, all of World 2, and the first half of World 3. And then if that doesn't work, I'll come back to this tower and suffer some more. Well, back to World 1 we go, and the second half of 1-3 is indeed possible. And after that comes 1-Tower. Oh great. It turns out the level is nowhere near easy, but still very possible. It's mainly just difficult timing challenges with a precise jump thrown in every now and then. But the beauty of this stage is that most of the time, failure doesn't result in death. And the second half is really easy if you just get the propeller out of this block. And if not, good luck. And since I had the propeller suit, killing Larry was pretty easy. 1-4 basically plays the exact same, and luckily for us, the Goomba boss fight actually has some pipes for us to wall jump off of. Then I opted to play 1-6, which is a little bit simpler than 1-5. The level is indeed possible, and the same goes for the castle, although it's a little bit harder. And if you're wondering, killing Larry the second time is a lot easier because you can wall jump off of pretty much any area depending on how the platforms are, and he tends to not move around the arena as much in this boss fight. Continuing on to 2-2 to eliminate a left press on the world map, I immediately noticed that the levels in World 2 were significantly harder than their World 1 counterparts. In fact, I'll admit that the game totally trolled me in this level. There's this block that gives you an ice flower, and in this challenge ice is generally better than fire, so I went for it, and then I realized I actually trapped myself in the sand and had to take an alternate route. The level is certainly difficult, but definitely not impossible. 2-3 just sucks in general, but I especially hated this moment where the game once again trolled me into getting a star, and it turns out it actually softlocked me, and the only way out was, well, death. Then again, this could also be happening because it was 5:30 in the morning. Now on to a level that I thought had the possibility of ending our run for good. World 2-Tower. Aside from all the typical tower reasons, this level has grates. Grates are interesting because if you wall jump back onto them, they actually cancel your momentum entirely. And a lot of the time, using grates is necessary to beat the level. And once I got to this part, I realized we're gonna need a propeller suit. What I didn't realize, however, was how easy this stage was actually gonna be with the propeller suit. I got it first try with the propeller suit, and I wasn't expecting that at all. Well, unless you count this. And once again, the propeller suit made the boss a piece of cake. And unfortunately, we have reached our first mandatory world map left press. That's really sad. I thought I would do this video in two categories, so the farthest you can get without pressing left, including the world map, is World 5. But we're over halfway to our goal of getting to the World 3 cannon and making it to World 6. The win stage was harder than expected, and upon going for the shortcut, I realized I couldn't do it. It was too hard for me. But that was secretly a blessing in disguise. My original plan was to go to 2-5 and beat that level, but I noticed that was another mandatory world map left press, so I thought I would get a little crazy with it and attempt 2-6, a level that I thought was definitely not going to be possible. I went for it just for funsies, and not only did I beat it first try, but I also got a propeller suit out of it. But before making it on my way to the castle, I accidentally ran into the enemies on the world map. I found 2-Castle pretty difficult, mainly just because I forgot what the routes were. But aside from me trying to correct this mishap, nothing noteworthy really happened. Until the boss fight, where I discovered a new strategy right before I died. Luckily, on the second time around, I employed the strategy and it worked flawlessly. Well, we made it to World 3. We are so close to getting to this world's canon and getting past the impossible 5- tower. World 3 introduces us to the penguin suit, which has a unique moveset but doesn't do anything exceptional for this particular challenge. And as for 3-1, it was a piece of cake. Unfortunately, I lost my penguin suit in 3-2, but also a pretty easy stage. Then I ran into the Ice Bros on the world map. With a little practice, these guys should be pretty easy, but I guess I was feeling impatient that day because I almost immediately rushed to getting a propeller suit. Now for 3-Boo House, which houses many things, and among them is the secret exit. And no, I'm not sorry for the pun. Ghost houses in this challenge are surprisingly difficult. Well, this one was at least. Luckily the stage opts to use these weird pole things, and by default Mario's on the left side, which means when he jumps off, he moves to the left. So that makes the vertical section very tolerable. Honestly, the only really difficult part is actually after you get into the secret exit area. See, I didn't account for this, but if you can't press left, you can't face left, which means you can't look at the army of boos that are right behind you. Well, not easily at least. And that's the section I ended up getting the propeller suit for. And I actually ended up using it more just as extra hits than an actual propeller suit. But this is really big news, because since we did the secret exit, that means we're now in World 6, and we skipped over the deadly level in World 5. Once again, to no one's surprise, 3- canon is possible. And after a brief celebration, I entered 6-1, which I honestly thought would be impossible. The reason I thought the stage would be so hard is because a lot of the rope ladders severely limit Mario's movement, and in some areas make both of our movement options for going left completely impossible. Luckily for us though, all these sections are very adamant about pushing Mario right. And to avoid another world map left press, I went to 6-3 instead of 6-2. 6-3 is just your standard difficult, but nothing's impossible stage. Until you get to the end. See, at the end, there's this bit where you have to hop up in between two piranha plants and then hit a switch, but it looked pretty difficult when I first saw it. Luckily, I was able to maneuver around everything and get to the end. This is our second mandatory world map left press. Now, I know you've heard me say this a lot, but I really thought 6- tower was going to end our run. I mean, look at this. At least 90% of the level is just not accessible at certain times. If the stage ever forces us to take refuge on the left, it is over for us. And without the propeller, I was able to get this far, and in theory, I could even get farther. But even with that information, I was not confident that even the propeller could get us through the stage. The parts I was sure we weren't going to be able to pass are these areas where the only way you can avoid the skewer is by staying on a moving lift, but it turns out that using the propeller suit, you can actually get past those sections quick enough to where you never actually have to deal with the skewer. And I really tried to get the checkpoint, but it just wasn't working. But the level ended up being a lot shorter than I remembered, and I got to the boss in one try. And this is the hardest tower boss fight yet, because this skewer temporarily disables our only method of getting left momentum. But I still managed to beat him. But as you saw by a lot of my friends' guesses, I'm not the only one who's surprised I made it this far. On to 6-5, which has a secret exit that avoids mandatory world map left press. I ended up accidentally getting the normal exit because I couldn't find the secret one. I had to look it up on YouTube. But it turned out to be completely possible, so that's really good. 6- Castle was surprisingly difficult, especially the second part. This took me a lot of tries to get through, but there was nothing technically impossible about it, and it got really easy once I remembered the hidden star block here. After that, I was in the boss door second try and beat Morton while small. 6- Airship was my first auto-scroller I faced on this challenge, and I don't have too much to say about the level. But for the boss fight, I thought we were going to have to abuse a mechanic that involves being able to jump on Bowser Jr.'s head in the airship boss fights, but to my surprise, I was actually able to beat Bowser Jr. while staying on the side of the map and just going up and down, which I found hilarious. That means we made it to World 7 without pressing left on the Wii Remote, which is absolutely insane. I would sound more energetic, but I'm currently recovering from COVID. But on 7-1, I found a slight problem. This problem is known as moving platforms. If a platform is moving Mario to the right, there's no way you can slow your movement on that platform, which is sometimes necessary to get through levels, and I thought this was going to make 7-1 pretty hard because I died in this section. Luckily for us, it looks like we're not going to have to deal with moving platforms, at least in this level. 7-2 was simple, and the same can be said for 7-3. Oh, and that's another tower! To my surprise, the first part of 7- Tower was actually really easy, because you don't have to press left to move this lift to the left, that's motion controls. But the second part has a lot more bombs and just obstacles in general, so it's a lot harder. But relatively quickly I managed to get through here and make it to the secret exit. This secret exit skips the entire second half of the world in exchange for only having to play one level known as the Parabeetle level. On paper this level looks simple, but to my surprise it was the bigger challenge over the tower. This level looks easy, but the fact that it's mostly precise jumps on small moving platforms with an auto-scroller mixed in actually makes it one of the hardest levels I've played so far. I pulled out the propeller suit a few times, but I didn't end up using it for the attempt that I beat it on. The beauty about taking the secret exit path means that you can actually skip to the boss fight of the castle, which I suspected would be a harder area of the game. On the first time I died to it, I noticed that it puts Mario at the bottom of the castle, meaning you actually have to do a left press in order to get back up to the top. Meaning that the only way to avoid this world map left press is by beating the boss first try. On my next attempt though, I figured out that wall jumping off of this wall and just kind of going back and forth actually made the fight really easy, and I was way surprised about this. Beating this stage means that we have made it to World 8 without pressing left once. It is absolutely insane to me that you can even get this far in the game without pressing left. "8-1 starts by showing off how cruel this game can be at times when you're not allowed to press left. Because at the start, the power-up is behind where Mario starts, and the power-up after the checkpoint requires a ground pound on a slope while avoiding a bunch of meteors in order to get it. But aside from the power-up placements, the level is completely possible. Unfortunately, the secret exit in 8-2 is very difficult, if even possible, to get to. But beating the level without the secret exit is definitely possible. Even if all these levels are possible, it's still a loss because there's 2 world map left presses in a row here. 8-3 is also cruel, but entirely possible. I had a feeling that the fireballs on the world map wouldn't be possible, and unfortunately I had to test that myth because I ran into one. And I was right, I had to die. But just to make sure, I ran into the fireball again, just so I could double down on the fact that it wasn't possible. And after that comes 8-Tower. Thinking about it logically, this is the hardest tower in the game, and in practice it had a lot of difficult sections. It's a lot of timing challenges, like here at the start you have to avoid this fire bar, and then you have to do some precise wall jumps to get up these stairs that are facing in the objectively wrong direction. But the stage comes with a randomizer room that features a helicopter as one of the options, so as long as you time it properly, you can get a propeller every time you play through the stage. Nintendo thought it was a good idea to softlock me, ruin my day, and make the 1-up go down the drain. This caused me to have to take a death on the fire bar, but equipped with this knowledge, I made it past the section on the next attempt. But I unfortunately lost the propeller suit shortly after that, causing me to have to do this in order to survive. I ended up dying on the next section, which made me think it was going to be nearly impossible without the propeller suit. My answer to this problem was not to waste time finding out and use the propeller suit. Using this genius strategy, I discovered the boss door shortly after. Kamek was hands down the hardest and most stressful boss fight up to this point. Not only did I have to deal with the stress of the randomness, but also the stress of having to redo the last half of the stage without a propeller suit if I died. Here's a few highlights from the boss fight. I think beating Kamek, this is probably going to be one of the toughest boss fights. I can't. Why? No! No! Stop! Alright, that's bad. No! I really, really want that. Flip. Oh. Okay. Like, I just want to let you know. That's not funny. Okay, can you, like, move? Why are you there? Oh, wow. Please. What is this? Oh my god. Oh, I did not think about that. Okay, this is what we in the industry consider bad. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Oh man! I'm so excited after beating this that for every minor gain after this point I started giggling like an infant child. 8-4 is an underwater stage, so I thought it was going to be easy. Then I died 3 times. And on that 3rd attempt, I realized that I have found my new worst enemy in this challenge. Vertical underwater sections. Underwater, you can't ground pound, slide, or wall jump, which are our only methods of moving to the left. But luckily, this water section comes equipped with bubble-blowing pipes that allows Mario to move to the left through the sheer force of air. You just have to damage boost first. But using invincibility frames and a few wall jumps out of water, I managed to position myself properly underneath the pipe that I needed to escape the stage. I rate it. Let's go! I rate it. After presumably rating the previous level a 5 out of 5, this level, like the first half of 7-Tower, doesn't change too much when you eliminate the left button. That would have been nice if this level wasn't already stupid hard to begin with, but I barely made it out alive and moved on to 8-6. Speaking of 8-6, it's a tower in disguise, only this time they forgot to add the proper bricks and threw it in the bottom of a volcano. But being the new Super Mario Bros. Wii nerd I was, I knew this and prepared by getting a mushroom. This allowed me to get a propeller suit at the start of the level as opposed to halfway through, which led to this level being possible and a lot of these crazy moments. Okay. We survive? Uh-oh. That's gonna be hard. Oh. I don't know if that makes it easier or not. Ouch. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Not good. Dude, no way! Okay, okay, that works. No shot. No way! After beating this stage, I was genuinely shocked and actually thought we had a chance at beating this game. No! That can't be real. Wow. We run. Okay. We're alive. Rare footage. Oh my gosh. We're gonna get this star coin. Oh, flip. Oh my gosh. This is the boss! This is the boss! This can't be real! That was quick. Just do your thing, battle out. Yeah, that's good. Okay, bro. That's not. Okay, cool. That's cool, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, just do that. Perfect! Perfect! Oh my gosh! Perfect! Oh my gosh! This is not real. After beating the stage and helplessly watching Peach get kidnapped for the second time, the game had thrown me my first and only bone. After beating the airship, the game pressed the left button for me so I didn't have to. This would have been a great feeling if I hadn't had to have pressed the left button 4 times already. But I put that past the game because I was on the final level. Equipped with my propeller suit, I carefully made my way through this castle, knowing that at any moment, death could occur and I could lose my slight movement enhancing abilities. I was in the zone, and then I realized I had made it to the room just before the final boss fight of the game with the propeller suit. Movement is of utmost importance in this boss fight. This was it. And that's why I proceeded to use every object this game had in order to help me out. I hid behind all the walls and in all the holes I had to avoid every fireball Bowser had to throw at me. Because I was not losing this propeller suit. And I hit the switch and Bowser fell down the hole and the game wanted me to think that I beat it. But as stated previously, I'm a New Super Mario Bros. Wii nerd, and I know that Bowser doesn't die that easily. And before I knew it, this happened. No way! I am truly shocked that New Super Mario Bros. Wii is able to be beaten without pressing left. And I'm just as shocked that I was able to do it. But what I was also just as shocked about is that one man knew it from the start. That's right, my friend Izza predicted that I would beat the game. But wait a second. When it comes to New Super Mario Bros. Wii, what is beating the game? I think most would agree that beating the final stage in World 8 qualifies. But after you beat that, you unlock World 9. World 9 has 8 of its own levels that come after 8-Castle and require you to get all the star coins in each of their respective worlds. So naturally, I think we're both asking the question, can you get all the star coins in one world in New Super Mario Bros. Wii so you can play its World 9 level counterpart thing? Well, I have an answer. So I started by backtracking to World 1 because it seemed like the easiest world to me. The second star coin in 1-1 looks difficult, but after a few tries it's pretty easy. I had to get all 3 star coins in 1-2, and this was a piece of cake. The same can be said for the second and third star coins in 1-3. The first star coin in 1-Tower requires a very precise timing jump, where you slide off a platform onto another temporary platform in order to get to it. But it's not impossible, and the same can be said for the third star coin. I knew the first star coin in 1-4 would be an issue, but I thought I would get a penguin suit and go for it later. In the meantime, I thought I'd use my propeller to help snag the second star coin in the stage. But then shortly after this happened, while I was just going for attempts for fun. I genuinely don't know how I didn't lose my momentum of my propeller suit, and I could have honestly accidentally pressed left to make this happen. But regardless, it doesn't really matter because the third star coin is definitely impossible, as you can't wall jump underwater and you can't really get any backward momentum in this section anyway. Meaning that 9-1 is unfortunately off the charts. Well, naturally, my first instinct was to go to World 2 because it's also an easy world and unlike World 1 does not have any water levels that could stop us. The only problem here was that I hadn't completed 2-1 or 2-5 yet. 2-1 ended up being possible along with all 3 of its star coins. 2-2's first and second star coin were definitely possible, but I forgot where the mini mushroom was in the stage to get the third one, so in the meantime I thought I would move on to 2-3. 2-3 was possible, but the second star coin in particular was quite difficult. But the missing star coin in 2-2 got on my nerves, so I thought I would check out this guy's star coin guide to figure out where the mini mushroom was. It turns out the pipe we needed to go through to get it was facing to the left, which required a left press no matter how you look at it. Once I figured that out, I tried looking up a concise video on YouTube that showed me all the mini mushroom locations in the game, but unsurprisingly nobody had talked about where all the mini mushrooms are in the entire game and put them in a nice short concise compilation for me to look through. Instead of researching in levels, I thought I would research toad houses. I know at the beginning of the video I said toad houses are impossible. Most of the main 8 worlds in New Super Mario Bros. We have red toad houses, which are the ones that give you items, but it turns out that these item placements aren't completely random. I originally thought that each specific toad house had its own layout that came up the same every time, but of course I had to be wrong about this. It seems that each world has 6 toad house layouts that are randomized every time you enter a toad house, and unfortunately for me, it turns out that only half of these layouts actually work for me and give me a mini mushroom, meaning that this was a game of logic, reasoning, and scariest of all, odds. So here's what we're looking for. In each toad house there's 18 panels you can flip, but since Mario starts in between the 3rd and 4th column of panels, only the 9 panels on the right are available to us. The way the game works is you have to match 2 of the item in order to get 1 of the item, and then to keep the item you have to end the game by getting 2 Bowser. Just as an example, layout 5 doesn't work despite having too many mushrooms there because you can't end the game with only a Bowser and a Bowser Jr. And layout 6 doesn't work because you have to go from left to right, meaning that you can't reveal the second Bowser Jr. after you get the second mini mushroom. Anyway, I took a screenshot of the 6 layouts and put them on my OBS so that way I could see exactly which layout it was as I was undoing the puzzle. I ended up getting a mini mushroom here, which means I had to be on layout 1, 2, or 4, all of which ended up being possible. If you're wondering, I got layout 2. And I just barely avoided a spike ball and then managed to get into the mini pipe and achieve the 3rd star coin of 2-2. Since I beat 2-3, all that was left was 2-tower. I assumed this would be the only time I would have a mini mushroom in this entire run, so I made it my goal to try to get all the star coins well mini. It turns out that might not have been the smartest idea because I ended up dying while going for the 3rd star coin after already collecting the previous 2. Luckily I had gotten a checkpoint which saved my 1st star coin. The only problem is that I had to beat the latter half of the stage without a propeller suit, which was very difficult. But unfortunately, this was just not working for me. And the worst part is if I went to 1-1 to get a propeller suit, I would lose my checkpoint and lose my 1st star coin, which I thought would only be possible with the mini mushroom because of its ability to one-way wall jump. But I decided to take that risk, and luckily for me, the 1st star coin was actually pretty easy with the propeller suit. And after 2 different playthroughs of the level, I had all 3 star coins. Well, I would say we certainly dodged a bullet there. Oh. 2-4 needs all 3 star coins too. The 1st star coin takes a lot of patience. The first bit of patience is getting to the star coin, and the second bit of patience is getting the star coin itself. Then I realized I skipped over the 2nd star coin and had to backtrack my way to it with the wind blowing me in the opposite direction. This also took me a while, and it ended with me realizing that I needed a propeller suit to get the star coin the whole time. But the only way I could get a propeller suit is from the place I was stranded at before, which means I had to do that same amount of precise movement, but without losing the propeller suit. Luckily for me, though, the 3rd coin was really easy. Well, time to play 2-5 for the first time. The 1st star coin was really simple, and the 2nd star coin turned out to be down this hole, and it turns out that's impossible. I didn't bother seeing if the level was possible because I was too depressed from this literal upset. That means that my math, science, and precise movement were all for nothing. World 1 and 2 were the easiest and most completed worlds on our route. World 3 is only half complete, with the tower included in the incomplete bit. We haven't even unlocked World 4. World 5 is completely impossible, and for World 6 we did the bare minimum, and you can say the same about World 7. And in World 8 there's a secret exit that's extremely difficult, if not impossible, and the sheer difficulty of the world makes me not even want to try it. This video is 30 minutes, and I've been working on it for almost 2 months now. I played through some of World 3, but I didn't end up getting it complete, and I feel like this is a relatively satisfying end to the adventure. Though if the video gets popular, I will try to finish this journey so we can have a concrete answer to the question, is New Super Mario Bros. Wii possible without pressing the left button? But until then, I would like to give a special thanks to Gudo, Lasso, and once again Izza for the insane pop-off of a guess. And if you want to see 5 more minutes of this style of content, stick around to the end card and click on the video there. And until then, I'll see you next time.